Hi, my name is Stacy Silva Boutwell. I am the Portuguese American mom. We are here at my shop, Stacy Cakes Tea Shop and Cakery in Westport, Massachusetts. And today we are going to make a quintessential comfort food, chicken and rice. We have a pot heating here. Take the lid off, kind of put it aside. And we're gonna start with some olive oil. So I've got a heavy bottomed pot here. If you wanted to do this in a non-stick pot, that's great too. We've got an onion, this is a large onion. It's a good amount of food. We're gonna make enough for about 4 to 6 people, maybe 6 to 8 people, depending on your family, right? And how much everybody eats. I'm gonna just chop an onion, peel this bad boy up. I always like to cut an onion in half. Just gonna cut through. And we're gonna do a medium dice, I would say, for this recipe. All right. Let's see if our oil is hot enough. Let's see. That's a nice sound. Love that, but you also have to watch it because it's already sizzling and you don't want it to burn. So as I'm chopping, I'm paying attention. The whole onion can go in and give it a quick toss around the pan. Now is a good time to add some salt. So I'm going to take some kosher salt. This is the coarse grain kosher salt. The only thing I cook with is coarse grain kosher salt. Sometimes I bake with a fine grain kosher salt. That's too salty for this. So if you only have fine grain salt, careful how much you add. But I find that a kosher salt is a much softer seasoning. Okay, so you can't really mess up too badly with that. So I just put a big pinch in there and let that kind of soften up. Let these onions get translucent. We're gonna add to that some garlic. I'm using this garlic from the store that has already been peeled. Not that it's a big deal to peel garlic, but hey, any shortcuts we can take works for me. As a busy working mom, I'll take whatever help I can get. All right, so we've got a good amount of garlic. We've got about 3 cloves of garlic. We're gonna add right on top of the onions. I try and put them on top because I don't want the garlic to burn, right? So I'm gonna mix it in, kind of lower the temperature just a little bit, kind of like a medium high instead of a high heat, and let those keep going. To this, we are going to add some chorizo. So chorizo is a Portuguese sausage. It's already fully cooked because it's been smoked. It usually comes with a skin. It always comes with a skin if it is a fully formed chorizo. So we're going to peel the chorizo so we don't have that skin in there. So we are going to take this and we're going to just slice it up. This is going to be added to our onions and garlic, and it's going to start to render down a little bit, and it's going to lend its flavoring to our dish. We'll take this, we're going to add it right in. And continue to stir. And you want to make sure that the onions are a little translucent for this next step. But once it starts to render down a little bit, we're going to add in some spices. So we've got our allspice. Allspice is not the allspice that you use in baking. Allspice is a collection of spices that's kind of like a spice blend. It's a Portuguese spice blend, including paprika. It's got some turmeric in it. It's got some orange peel. It's a wonderful little spice blend. The allspice has been sprinkled in. If you don't have access to allspice, no worries, just use some smoked paprika. If you'd like to make your own allspice, I do have a recipe for it, a quick recipe on my website. To this now, we are going to add the pimenta moída. Pimenta moída is a wet ground pepper that has been boiled using a salt process, which preserves it. I'm going to add 2, maybe 3 good teaspoons of this. This is not a spicy pepper. This is a mild pepper. We purely use it for flavor. If you don't have this available to you, you could also use some dried pepper flakes. Watch how spicy you get. But this is not meant to be an overly spicy dish at all. It's meant to be a comfort, right? So it's not meant to be something that you have a hard time eating. You can always get pimenta moída online. Portuguese shops in Fall River sell direct to customers. All right, so we're gonna turn up the heat a little bit because that pimenta moída added some moisture. To this, we are gonna prep some potatoes. So we're not gonna add them right away, but I just want them ready for when everything else goes in. So I'm gonna take about 6 medium potatoes, medium small potatoes. You can add more, you can add a little bit less. Either way is fine. I kind of like this at a small dice. What happens is the potatoes kind of break down when you're cooking and it adds this creamy texture. It's not really about biting into big potatoes, although if that's what you like, do that. I kind of like how they break down and make the dish a little bit more creamy. I'm just using a white all-purpose potato. If you'd rather use Yukon Gold, you can use Yukon Gold. You can use really anything that you have in your pantry. Portuguese cooking is a lot about what you have on hand. If what you have on hand is an Idaho potato, use an Idaho potato. If what you have on hand is a Yukon Gold, go for it. I would not substitute sweet potatoes. Not the same. But any kind of white-ish potato works just fine. That's what we want for potatoes. Let's check on our, oh, that's looking awesome. That is just looking great. All right, now that this is rendered down, what we want to do is prep our chicken. So I'm going to move these potatoes aside and I'm going to bring in our chicken. I've got here 3 chicken breast halves. So we're going to trim out the fat. I'm just going to kind of put this stuff aside. Before I add it in, I'm just going to quickly put a little bit of salt over it just to season the chicken itself, to make sure that the chicken itself has a little bit of that seasoning. So I'm going to take some of this kosher salt, just put a little bit, and then I'm going to put it right into the pan. Trying not to touch the pot with this hand that's been touching the chicken, but I do want to mix this in so that the chicken gets some contact with the heat. Okay, take a break. I'm going to wash my hands, and then we're going to come back and we're going to add some wet ingredients plus some of the rice. Okay, so to this, we're going to add in these potatoes that we so finely diced. Add these in. Great. Now, I have here about 3 cups of rice. I don't know that we need 3 cups of rice. I feel like if I put 3 cups of rice in this size pot, and that's what you kind of have to judge it on, because you can have 10 cups of rice if you want, right? But my family's not going to eat 10 cups of rice. My family will probably eat 2 cups of rice. So I'm going to do about 2/3 of this container. I'm just going to add it right in. Now, my mom will tell you she likes to cook the rice separate and then add it in. If that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. I like to cook the rice in where all the spices are so that the rice picks up the spices. Now I'm stirring this in, and to this I'm going to add half a can because this is the size can I have of tomato sauce. This is straight tomato sauce. This is not spaghetti sauce. Please do not add spaghetti sauce to this. We do not want Italian flavorings in this. But straight tomato sauce right in there. If you have the little cans, use little cans. This is a 15-ounce can. I think it comes in like 6 or 8 ounces, like the smaller cans. That's great. Use that. I'm going to add an entire can of beer. American beer, nothing fancy. Don't go and spend all your money on beer to put into this dish. Just needs to be any kind of ale is fine. All right. Now, because we have about 2 cups of rice, we need about 6 cups of liquid to cook said rice. And we also have the potatoes that are raw that also need to cook. So we are going to add, I usually just honestly take this to the sink, fill it up 6 times and put it in. And then that's enough. And that cleans out the rest of your tomato sauce. So that's what we're gonna do now. And then we're gonna leave this to simmer. We're gonna cover it, turn down the flame, leave it to simmer for about 45 minutes. Let's check this out. We are starting to get some bubbles here. So what we wanna do is just give it a stir. It's already starting to stick a little bit to the bottom, so be careful. I can feel it. I'm unsticking what's on the bottom there. And yeah, what you want to do now is just lower the heat, cover it up. Every 10 or 15 minutes, just come and do the same process again until all the rice has absorbed the liquid and everything is fully cooked. Because by the time the rice absorbs the liquid, those tiny cut potatoes will also have absorbed the liquid. You can give it a little fork test to see if the potatoes are cooked through. But I mean, it should cook right around the same time. So we're gonna lid this back up. It's been about 45 minutes. Show you what we've got here. We've got a light simmer. We've got lots of steam. The rice has absorbed just about all of the liquid, and when I mix this in, it's almost too much for this pot. I did add a couple of cups of water because I was finding as I went to stir, there wasn't enough water for it to absorb. It wasn't cooked quite yet, so I added a couple of cups of hot water because we wanted to start absorbing right away. So I did add that in. See, as we mix this in, it's perfect consistency. This is exactly what you're looking for. We've got some cooked potatoes are cooked perfectly. Get a nice piece of chicken. If you look at the chicken, it's cooked all the way through. Perfect. The rice is perfectly cooked, and the potatoes, fork tender, they fall right apart. Perfect. So now the only thing left to do is taste for salt. All right. Take a little bit of this. Need a little bit more salt. I'm glad we were conservative when we were making it because you can always add salt. It's very hard to take it away. So I'm going in with my kosher salt. I'm putting a couple of good pinches, and then I'm gonna stir it in. Get another fork here. Test this out. It's perfect. So we're gonna take it, we're gonna serve it. Now, every Portuguese meal on the face of the planet is served with bread. So I'm just gonna take a papsik, which is a Portuguese bread, get it ready. As you like to dip the bread or just eat it on the side, everybody has a different preference. We're gonna make sure we get some pieces of chorizo. We're gonna make sure we have some chicken, some potatoes, nice piece of bread there on the side. And there you have it, Portuguese comfort food, chicken and rice.